Welcome everybody to a new episode of Leadership in Bluejeans, shot from the Mindspace building in Pipera, and I have two guests here today, two very exciting ones. One is Roxana Cîrcu and Andrei Crețu. Welcome both of you.
Thank you so much.
So as always, we're just going to tell our viewers, I'll let you tell our viewers a little bit about yourself, a little bit your background, and then we go into our leadership subject as we usually do. So Roxana, why don't you give it a start?
Ladies first.
Ladies first.
Ladies first.
Beauty's after. Hi, and thank you, Frank, for inviting us here. So my name is Roxana Cîrcu. Thank you for pronouncing it correctly. I know it's a difficult name. So I work in IT industry for almost 20 years now. I've been working for a company in IT consulting for 10 years, and then I joined Endava, one of the biggest software companies nowadays, for the last 9 years. I've been working in IT consulting and then project management and having various leadership roles, and now I'm running the Bucharest unit of Endava, which counts like approximately 1,000 employees. So that's kind of summarizes my current job.
Roxana. Andrei?
Right, so I come from a consulting background. So I work for two American companies, Kearney and PwC. And afterwards I switched in 2011 to entrepreneurship when I started Sevencard, which is an aggregator for gyms and the various places where you do sports. And it became the benefit of choice in Romania when it comes to the sports segment. As of last year, actually during the pandemic, since I was having various conversations with HR and not only, but mainly HR directors, and I sensed the future need for more flexibility in the organizations. That's when I had the idea of Pluria, which borrows a lot of elements actually from Sevencard. It's a network of co-working spaces and other flexible type of offices that can be accessed by company employees based on a subscription and on a need basis, just to complement the main office and work from home. I felt that from now on, organizations need this bit of flexibility in how they work, and that's how we got started. So now I'm fully committed for Pluria.
Yeah, I knew it would not be enough to give you 10 seconds to think about it. Oh, well, you had a big story to tell, and I think it's actually pretty amazing. Well, thanks for the introduction. I wanted to shoot you a question. Not usually, but from time to time, I ask our guests about if they can think of either a public figure or maybe a manager from their past that they kind of looked up to for their leadership skills. But this time I want to do the opposite. I want to ask you if there's some sort of anti-example in your past, in maybe a public figure with regards to leadership that kind of taught you how not to be.
Again, ladies first. I can start here. I don't have, obviously names should not be given here, but I have more than one example. I have maybe not two persons, but I would like to highlight two traits that I don't like in leaders. The first one, and I experienced quite a lot in consulting, when a partner was extremely pushy, but in a sense where we stopped having a personal life. And I think at some point during those years something clicked, and I never did this to my team. I mean, we were basically working to the point of exhaustion and beyond. So that's something I think leaders should carefully manage because it doesn't lead to anything good. And the other trait that I did not like seeing in a different leader in a different setup years later was a very consensus-driven individual. This guy simply wanted everybody in the room to be on the same page so that we could advance. But that obviously led to problems in the decision-making process, and we were stagnating and we did not evolve because of being too much of a nice guy, too relaxed, wanted everybody to be happy. So it was pretty much a roadblocker from time to time.
Yeah.
But just those two traits came to my
Inclusive
mind.
leadership taken too far.
That's way too far. Yeah, exactly.
All right,
exactly.
well, super examples, I have to say. Roxana, you?
Yeah, so whenever I get this question, what are the public figures, or again, I don't have only one, right? So I never look up to a specific person. So the opposite would apply as well. It's not like one person that definitely I don't. There will be exactly like you've mentioned, traits that, okay, maybe I don't like and it's not something that I would do, or might be more traits, but in that case, that is not a leader. Probably it's a person who has a certain role at some point, but it's not a true leader, right? So definitely, if I should give some examples, I wouldn't like the leaders who do not empower the people or do not let them be themselves and discover their potential and try to be more. So that's something that I think it's mandatory for a leader to do so. And the other trait that I don't like are the people who don't listen to the other ones. It's just about their ideas and this is what I want to achieve by that date and that's it. I don't care how you do it, just do it.
So that's the opposite example of the inclusive leader taken too far.
Yeah, so, okay, just to give you a few examples. But, I could think of more.
How does this show for you a leader that would empower their people? What does it actually mean practically?
Well, it means so many things. It's not like a recipe that you give and okay, you follow these steps like an algorithm. If you follow these steps, then definitely. It's about setting an environment where the individual should feel safe enough to express their opinions, to learn from each other, and then to give them also responsibilities step by step to feel that okay, they can be empowered to take decisions on to do and to find the true meaning of their work, and then to try to put this to all the individuals, to spread around, not just for one but for the entire team. There are various actions or ways to do
trust,
this.
I guess trusting them, right?
If
obviously, you micromanage, you don't give them autonomy. It actually shows that you don't trust your team. So what kind of leader is that? Yeah.
That reminds me of a question that has been debated a lot. Is trust given or is it earned?
Yeah, it's a tough one. I would start, in my case, right, I would start by giving them trust, especially if we are talking about the people among our team, right? Because I've trust that they've been to, if I look at my company, right? And I have this example in mind. So obviously when we recruit people, we look for certain values and certain ways of thinking, right? And if they share the same values as us, then they will join our company. So by default, I would give them the trust, right? Because I know that they are there because they've earned their spot. Afterwards, I just observe and see, okay, if a person does repeated mistakes, then okay, we'll try to correct, we'll try to see what's happening, and then we'll see about the trust.
Right.
But by default, to start with, I would give them the trust and then see if they really want it.
Personally, I like that approach. Andrei?
I'm on the same page. But I understand the difference. I think you need to jumpstart the relation, right? So you cannot. It would be quite impossible for them to start earning trust in an environment of. So you need to. Probably it comes from the leader, from the employer, from the company. It needs to pave the roads with those, first steps in terms of trust, and then also set up some standards, right? To value the value created by the employees for the company.
Yeah.
Because you might get to the point when you fully trust them, but then I don't know. Your trust as a leader is not rewarded from the other side as well.
You don't.
Yeah, there's got to be some sort of reciprocation.
Yes, exactly.
With that, of course. But then I think maybe how you described it, if we would make trust something that has to be earned first, it feels a little bit like you're guilty until proven otherwise instead of the other way around, right? I would imagine that if you're in an environment where, first of all, the leader actually clearly shows you that maybe he has a small circle of people that they trust and they had to earn their way up, where does that leave you? In the rest of the team, how does that make you feel? And I don't think that in such an environment you would really also have the courage to come out and dare things, open your mouth when you have an idea that you're not entirely sure of, and so on. So you'll be more careful. In the end, nobody gets out of the associate what they
you would feel
hope to
that
get.
you are judged all the time. Like
exactly,
someone
right?
is
giving
an exam.
So I was wondering if you could also share something else with us. For example, I wonder if there's something that you wish that somebody would have told you about leadership before you ever had your first manager role, and what that would be. Where once you had your first role as a manager, actually you made a mistake, a leadership mistake, that would have been so avoidable if somebody would just have taken you aside and given you a couple of the basics.
I don't have a specific example in mind, to be honest. I think you always learn by mistakes, and I think that whenever you do it, it's something that enriches you as a person. So even if someone would have told me, probably I would have just ignored it or just take it like a theoretical thing that will never happen to me. So you just have to live with it and go. I think
for me it relates also with the past to the past point of trust, and obviously the mistakes that you're with the highest probability of doing relate also to the type of leader or character that you have. And me personally, I tend to give maybe way too much trust. So the first mistake, and what I wished somebody would have told me, and I also wished I would have listened. Probably I wouldn't have. Would be this: when you try all things and you cannot fix that person, its contribution, just acknowledge that it didn't work and move on. So
know when to stop.
And stop and not do too many attempts. And I did this in the past. I was just giving second and third and fourth and fifth chances to certain people, when I could have probably realized sooner that it's not going to work. And that it took me some. I think I still do this mistake at times.
It is hard to balance. I sympathize with you here, empathize with you, because I would tend to do the same. It's only over experience that we can remind ourselves and saying, right, Frank, that's actually enough, at this point. So, but it obviously depends on how you're wired. But I emphasize with you here with that exact problem.
Yeah.
Also, something I would say, maybe from my past, I think I wish I would have been clear on, because we always start as associates somewhere, and then at one point there's an opportunity for us for being promoted to become a manager, is this mind shift that needs to take place, that your focus is no longer on maybe the task that made you successful before, and then you have a completely different vantage point, and also the interaction with the people on the team changes a little, and it also has to change a little. I don't mean that you have to become the evil boss, not at all, or that you cannot be connected with the individuals anymore, but it does change, and to some degree it's also important that it changes.
Yeah, I totally relate to that, because it happened to me as well.
And you never, me at least, I never stopped learning in this regard, because what happens, I still enjoy doing certain tasks. So at points I want to deep dive and let me do that Excel, right? That's wrong.
It's a typical trap.
It's a trap, because most of the times you feel like, okay, it will be quicker if I do it, but on the long term it doesn't help to the overall team.
Exactly, and that's when you what happens, that you get exhausted. You don't even realize that you spend again 12, even 13 hours per day working, when probably delegation should be something that I'm talking in my case, I should be working on more.
Plus the other team members would feel empowered if you give them the full responsibility and the full trust to do those tasks rather than you doing them. And the other trap would be that you would tend to micromanage at some point if you don't step out from the task that you used to do before.
I'm curious how it is to manage 1,000 people.
I delegate.
That's
through delegation. We have middle management
I never
layer,
went
very
above
strong
50,
one.
and to me it's it's really tough.
Yeah, that's right. But then on the other side, through delegation, also an interesting subject, you cannot effectively delegate if you have not empowered your people to do their job.
Indeed, yeah.
Because if you don't do that, if you omit that step, you cannot effectively delegate.
No.
But not only that, right? It's not only just about the empowerment, it's also about the trust part again. So you need to trust them to be able what they do, and you need to create an environment in which they can, experiment, where they can discuss, debate, have constructive conflict, and all of those things.
And where they can fail.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So I don't know, how was it for you, for example? One of the other things that I understood a little later, not in the very beginning, was that one of the biggest parts, if not the biggest part, of my job as a manager, even as a low-level manager, was actually to create the environment around my department, so with all the other departments, and create working relationships with others, so that my team is set up to be successful. Because as an individual contributor, you don't have to take that view so much.
Yeah.
Right.
I think in my case it is easier because we work in projects. So our company is built around projects. So the separation between the departments is not so strict as in another type of company. So our team will always be composed of project managers, developers, testers. So they all need to interact, and it's in the nature of our work. So it's always the one team concept is always something that we emphasize.
But aren't you still even one part of this big project team, in some sense, is also dependent sometimes that another part of that big team is providing them some degree of support.
It's always the
which
case.
They don't necessarily have to do. And that's when the relationship comes in, doesn't it?
It is, yeah. I just said it's easier, but in the sense that we are used to do this. It's part of our daily job. I'm not saying it's an easy task to do so, but it's just something that we learn. So that this is our way of working.
I think we can extrapolate what you said. Those relationships that are created within the structures of a company to that of larger, broader ecosystem, because I assume you have many suppliers, for example, or outside companies you're working together. So it's the same kind of setup that you're trying to set, right? To facilitate interactions and communication with third parties within your company, but also outside. I think.
Yes, I see what you mean. It will also, to a certain degree, be true with a network of business partners.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So here's the other thing that came to my mind, and that is creating an environment inside my team where the benefits and the successes are shared with them. So not to look at them as, so to speak, minions who do a particular job, but share the successes with them so that they actually feel that that the impact of what they have done or what they have delivered. And if one of you would have asked me what's your anti-example of a leader, there's someone coming to mind who would always keep all the benefits, the applause, the everything completely for himself, and wouldn't even give credit.
Yeah.
That is so
for
discouraging.
Us, yeah. I mean, it's always it's the team merit in all the cases, not just the leader, right?
Yeah.
The leader is just a representative in some cases, but it's always a collective effort of the team members. And it's always important to show the meaning of what that team is doing and to celebrate the success. So it's not just about completing some tasks, but in the end, look at the overall the end result and see, okay, so what system did we build and how is it used? And we are so happy when we see that the systems that we are producing are being used, I don't know, to make a payment on the mobile, or someone is watching a video that I know that we were behind that video, and the team is always happy to see this kind of results and to celebrate it. And whenever they receive a good feedback from the particular customer or an end user, they will always feel very happy.
That's great. That's great. I mean, this is so important, this particular subject. When you said team, something else came to my mind about that, and that is the role of conflict in a team. What's your view on this? Is it necessary? Does it need to be minimized? Should it be a culture?
You have to confront always, and to see what's there and to solve it. There is no way of hiding it. Okay, you'll hide it in the beginning, but then it will explode in some other parts in the end. So there will always be conflicts between team members because of their personalities that are different, because of they probably have different views on certain tasks. So at that point, you just have to sit with them and listen to all the everything that they have to say, and then decide and see, okay, what's the best way to do this for the team, not for a particular individual. And in the end, the team will norm, and they will find a way to balance. But obviously, the manager and the leader should moderate this.
What do you think?
I just I recalled a couple of instances where I was in a position that I absolutely hate. More specifically, when you're with a project group, with your team, and you say, we should do that. And it's silence. Okay. And then 1 month, 2 months down the line, I don't know, something happens, and you only then somebody tells you, yeah, but I wasn't feeling comfortable with what you said or with that part of the task and so on.
So I didn't do it.
And that drives me crazy, and I tend to overthink it. I didn't give them enough trust. Wasn't the environment created in such a way that they didn't feel comfortable at that point? And of course, it happens, but it doesn't. It shouldn't be something natural to that organization. So people should be encouraged. If there's a seed of disagreement, to express it then, not to wait until it grows and it can impact others.
Yes, and that's exactly the lack of constructive conflict that I was actually trying to get to. is inside. So within the team members, it's not between manager, or it's not about necessarily about personality.
Yeah.
About the environment that is built on having enough, trusting each other enough that I can tell you, Roxana, in the face as my peer, that I'm thinking the way you're approaching the project is flawed in some way, or whatever I think is wrong with that, or that I would take a different approach because reason A, B, C. So that kind of conflict, and why? Because only when everything's put on the table and everything's spoken out, only then a team can actually find something they jointly can commit to.
Yeah, exactly.
Instead of saying whatever.
That's why it drives me. It drives me crazy, because to me, it just signals disengagement, or I don't care enough to share my point of view.
They're not engaged.
It's just a job.
Or
whatever you tell, okay, we'll do.
Right.
And then we'll wait for the paycheck at the end of the month, and we'll do whatever. And if something comes up, then we'll fix it. But guys, show me you care. I mean, that's why you're here. Otherwise, I mean, the labor market is completely open. I'm not saying it as a threat, as an encouragement for everybody to find something that they believe. And when you believe in something, then this also comes natural. I mean, you express yourself, and
But I think that the leader should be the one to create this environment from the beginning and to encourage it going further. It's because otherwise the other team members will not have the courage to express themselves if you don't give them these opportunities.
Yeah.
For example, we do part of our methodology every 2 weeks. We have like retrospective meetings when we looked at what happened in the past sprint, in the last 2 weeks, and just say, okay, what went wrong, what went well, but just express your opinions, and you just have to encourage them to speak out in the end. And,
that's post-mortem though.
well, that's one way. But it will happen for the next 2 weeks, because we do it every 2 weeks.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, of course, that's important. And you're right. I think from my point of view, at least, it's actually the manager in the end that sets the tone through granting trust, but also through a certain degree of own vulnerability. Because, you need to, I think you need to model that you may at one point don't know how to approach a particular challenge, or that you're overwhelmed with something, or that you made a mistake, something that didn't work, something like that. To just be a model for everyone else to also raise the hand and say, actually, here I think I screwed up with this, or I don't know what to do, or I don't think your idea is great. So this is how these debates come out. Yeah. So I call this just as constructive conflict. The only thing is, it sounds, when I say this now, it sounds like just a very reasonable thing to do. But in the end, because we're all a little bit human and they never can completely shut down the ego, it will always be a little bit hard.
Yeah.
So a little bit, let's say, a little bit uncomfortable still.
Uncomfortable,
right?
Yeah.
So what's the best way to encourage others and ourselves to be just a little bit more uncomfortable in seeking out a constructive conflict than we actually instinctively would like to?
I think you have to present yourself as being authentic and like a real person, and not to present yourself as a god that I know all the answers and this is the way we're going to do. Exactly like you said, to show your vulnerabilities, and in the end expect the other ones to do the same by giving them your example, and then to create this culture, this environment that, okay, let's talk, let's solve this all together.
I like that, I have to say. Andrei, anything to add?
I think one aspect that can help and is complementary to this is maybe aligning on the priorities of the company, however you want to call it, North Star, OKRs, whatever, many concepts. But then if every team and every individual knows how her work is valued, then they are stimulated to, when they see a misalignment, to speak up because they know it will affect them in some way. But if the role is not clearly defined, then I think it induces this sort of relaxation and not disengagement,
Right.
however you want to call it.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think I know what you mean. That's then your role as the leader of the team to make sure that everybody kind of stays on track, has the clarity, and so on, and then has possibly some sort of, as the team, not the individual, is connected to what is actually the highest goal
Exactly.
of that team. Even if you may have a particular responsibility inside that team, you share that highest aspiration as
Exactly.
the North Star,
That goes
so to
well
speak.
beyond the current disagreements, right? So it's very helpful into overcoming it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to jump into a little bit into the now. We've been talking a little bit about our past experience, but when you think as yourself, your own roles as a leader, because I used to say, at least, it's kind of a never-ending journey. There's always something to learn or skills to acquire for ourselves. If you take a moment to consider your own, where you stand with your own self-awareness as a leader, what is it that you think you would put some emphasis on in the next coming 1 or 2 years? What is it that you want to learn about leadership? What do you want to explore a little deeper, if there's anything?
Right. There should be something, right? Otherwise, we
are perfect. What else? Nothing else. That's why you asked us here, right?
I like the confidence in that statement, but it's not getting you very
And I'm not
far.
authentic now. Yeah, we have so many to
Well,
learn.
let me ask you differently. Anything that ever fascinated you, perhaps, about someone else who is a leader, where you said, I wish there's an element of what I'm seeing there with the other person that I would like to also use more?
I think it's always challenging to work with people. So we have a lot to learn from this, and it's a never-ending story. It's a two-way path. We always learn from each other and from the other people within my team. If I look at what we stand now, and from a leadership point of view, I think that we really need to adapt to the new situation, that is the way of working and the way organizations were built up until now, and the culture that was built within the organization is definitely changing, because the way of working is changing due to the pandemic, due to all this work from home, work from anywhere, work from office, and everything. This whole situation brings a lot of challenges in building the culture for this and maintaining the culture for this type of organizations. So I think that this is something that
That's a good thought. So for you, it's adaptability.
Yeah.
Probably quick
been.
adaptability.
Yeah, it has always been there.
Yeah.
I mean, adaptive, for example, is one of our values, but nowadays it's even more important. It's mandatory to apply it. And to see how the culture, how can we maintain a culture when we'll have people working from home and from the office as well.
Super, I like that. Andrei, do you have anything, or are you still thinking?
It is a very interesting topic to think about. What comes to my mind is at the current state of Pluria, which is at the beginning and capturing an opportunity that is actually now is taking shape. It's not something already in demand. There are many suppliers that offer what we do, and then we come in with a better product or something. And it's a tough process. In the same time, we are ambitious enough to try to expand as much as possible internationally. That's why we're opening in Iberia, so Spain and Portugal, and also I'm looking at South America. And so for us, a challenging aspect in leadership, because it's leadership in this context, is building solid international bridges in record time and fully remote, fully distributed. So that would be the most challenging aspects. So we need to move fast. We are distributed organization. We see the opportunity, and how do I connect the dots faster and broader?
Yeah, I kind of have a feeling that's not a challenge for you, because innovation doesn't seem to be one of your challenges based on what you've done in the past.
Yeah, I mean, past experience helps. Yeah, we like to be innovative. I mean, that's what drives me. I like to build things from scratch. But now with the international perspective, is not something that I have to say, I have big experience in the past.
Yeah, sure.
So it's also something new for me. But the new way of working also brings opportunities, and opened up
Obviously.
To the global market even more. I mean, it accelerated certain things, and it's a way of how you take advantage of that. So, and also that comes down to leadership.
I love that perspective, Andrei. We're at the end of our time. I want to thank both of you very, very much.
Thank you.
It was a super interesting talk, for me at least. I always enjoy this probably more than I should. Thank you very much to all the viewers. Thank you very much for Mindspace for lending us this room in this wonderful building, and see you all next time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.